these hydrangeas were dried in a technique that I use where I fill a bucket with hydrangeas and water at the end of the season, and then they just slowly dry out until they're a nice consistency. The color is still pretty, and you have something you can use for decorating. And so today I'm going to share with you some ideas of how I decorate with these dried hydrangeas. I just use my husband's buckets or whatever I can when my hydrangeas are still glorious at the end of the fall. And then they need the water, and they will slowly stop sucking water until they're a beautiful color still and ready to use. So in this room, I actually have a pretty massive floral arrangement of dried hydrangeas. And this year I wanted to refresh some of these because what was green is now white. Some of them are still really kind of pretty, but they don't have the pungent color that they did have in the past. It's a nice purplish blue one. That one was green, and that one was green, and these are fading, but sometimes it's hard for me to part with them. So, okay, I'd like to show you also where I have used them in the dining room where I do my tea parties. And in the beginning of the fall, you can do this because they'll have dried out. But I like to decorate for Christmas on the tops of my buffets, where I keep some of my glassware and my china. And so I waited till I was done with my Christmas, and then I took the buckets, brought them into this dining room, and it's kind of a two-person job because otherwise you're going up and down and up and down. But if somebody can just hand you hydrangeas, I use actually a metal basket behind these, and I just poke it into there and they stay like that. Just beautiful, and it brings such a nice gardeny feel to my home during the season where nothing is blooming in my garden, which is really hard for me. I have about 20 gardens in my yard. It's partly why I do the tea parties. They have the tea and then they go out into the gardens. So let's get started. I'm going to show you a couple of great ideas besides the ones that I just shared. And you can see maybe potentially how you can do the same thing in your gardens. So if you remember, I showed you a really full vase of flowers at the beginning of this YouTube video. Well, I've slightly destroyed it, as you can see here, and taken out a lot of things. Here's my bucket of hydrangeas that I have left, and I have vacuumed. And here is another really beautiful vase of some really bright colored ones that I dried, and I'm going to refresh in that vase. So I'm going to take some of what I already have, and this is the skeletal view of my urn. You know, you just put some floral foam inside there and some moss. Glue that floral foam down real well into whatever container you're using, and then a little bit of moss to cover the foam, which in the end no one will see. And when I'm done, you won't be seeing any stems at all. So if you can see here, I'm just going to remove some more of these and then replace them. And I have some beautiful colored ones. Here's a nice blue. Guests. And the best way to do it is I just push it right into that foam that's there. And that was foam that was there from before, but if you were going to do a vase or an urn, you just get floral foam. And that's not the kind of foam that is for wet floral, it's for dried floral. And it's tougher. And then you hot glue it inside your vase or whatever container you would like, and then a little bit of moss, either Spanish moss or regular moss, and that just kind of covers the foam because sometimes the floral arrangement isn't completely full and you might see that foam. In this particular case, I do still have some of my moss in there, but I don't think you will notice it when I'm done. Another blue, but it turned lighter. Again, I took these from when the floral was not at its beginning, because that's too fresh. And when you put it in the vase, it'll crunkle instead of keep its pretty floral out. And so it's at the end of its season that you clip it, put it in water, and it'll dry back all by itself. So we don't want to crush any of these. They need to get this one down in. And you can hear it push into that foam. A really gorgeous one that came from more of a burgundy. And I'm in the code zone 4. So some of the ones that other people can get throughout our nation are different than the ones that we can get here up in Wisconsin. I like the purplishness of this one, so I'm going to turn it a little bit. And you can just reach down in with your hand, grab the bottom of it. There. And you can see I have some twigs in here. We also have a vineyard, and so I have some of the grapevine, and some of it I've taken out. This is curly willow. We have a curly willow tree. Those dry nicely and give it some extra textures. And I see, of course, I need to fill in here, I need to fill in there. Still need some help there. I use a little wire cutters if I need to clip this. This has a little curve to it, so I'm just going to clip that off. And clipping it with a little angle helps it get into that foam better. Just a little hint. Instead of having just a dull end, clip it to an edge that's kind of angled. So here we go here. Just to let you know that the style of some of these is a limelight hydrangea. They get very big cone-shaped flower heads that are made up of all different pieces of florets that make this big cone. I don't like when any of those flower heads fall off, but you kind of can't help it. See, I don't want to block this beauty. This is a beauty. Purples and blues and lavenders, really, really pretty. So I think main stage for that one right there. Put it in here. Okay, it's coming along. The project is finished. This is my final project of the hydrangea urn. It is pretty massive. You can do a much smaller version of this. I have so many different colors of hydrangeas in my yard that it gets to be kind of massive. Humongous might be a word. But let's go over some of the points of this and what makes it work. So different colors, different textures of hydrangeas, different styles. These are all in my zone 4, and I dried them all in the fall or possibly I dried them when they were at the end of their time on the plant, and they still produced more up until fall, and then I just held those off. Also recapping, I put them in water when they're at the end of their time, and then they slowly dry out. And so also, like I said, we have a vineyard, so I just have a few spots where I have some vines going just to kind of make it look gardeny, having some twigs in there. And then also the curly willow tree provides a really pretty curly branch that you can dry. So okay, again, a lot of the ladies get these from my gardens, and I have a garden sale at the end of the season if you would like to contact me at Taking Time for Tea. If you don't have the opportunity and you live in another state and you don't get any hydrangeas and would like to do some things around your home with these dried hydrangeas, contact me at www.takingtimefortea.com. Thank you for joining me today. Take care. Bye-bye.